Imagine you wake up tomorrow with $1 trillion. Not a metaphor, not a thought experiment, an actual number, sitting in an actual account, with your name on it, and a single rule: spend it all in 7 days, or lose everything. You think this is easy. It isn't. And the reason it isn't easy is the most important thing anyone has ever taught you about how money, power, and the world actually work. Most people think money is the answer to everything. Pay enough, and you can have anything. Pay enough, and you can fix anything. Pay enough, and the rules bend for you. They don't. And the proof is sitting in an account with your name on it right now. By the end of this video, you'll understand something that most economics textbooks never explain, most finance channels never cover, and most wealthy people never say out loud. More money doesn't give you more control. It reveals how little control was ever for sale. Let's find out what actually happens when one person tries to own everything. Day 1. You start with property, because property is simple. You pay, you own. That's the deal. By noon on day 1, you've signed contracts on 80 properties across 12 countries. A $300 million ranch in Aspen, a waterfront compound in Palm Beach, a villa in the south of France that hasn't changed hands since it belonged to a Belgian king, a private island off the coast of Norway with no fresh water and no airstrip, accessible only by boat. You sign for the Norwegian island with the same pen and the same speed as the Fijian resort with its own runway. The price difference is $40 million. The signature is the same. That's the second thing you notice about having $1 trillion. Not the number. Not the ring count. The fact that everything starts to feel the same weight. A $40 million gap stops registering as a gap. You keep buying. Cars, watches, private jets, every Bugatti currently available, every Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute on the global market, entire annual production runs of the rarest vehicles on Earth. By the end of day 1, you own more rare hypercars than any private collection in recorded history. You note that fact. You move on immediately. 43 super yachts, Monaco, Miami, the Maldives. Combined crew requirement to operate them. Roughly 4,000 people. You are now, without intending to be, a maritime employer. That problem is for next week, end of day 1. $25 billion spent. $975 billion remaining. And here's the part nobody tells you about having $1 trillion. While you were buying all of that, the money was also earning $136 million in interest in one day, without effort, without decisions, without you doing anything at all. The spending is slower than the earning. You are already falling behind yourself. Day 2. You stop buying things people want. You start buying things the world runs on. Farmland, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, institutional-grade holdings that trade like financial assets. The transactions close fast. By early afternoon, you are the effective owner of farmland, the size of a small European nation. Water rights follow. Agricultural operations across 3 states now depend on whoever manages your estate. Then gold. You tell the commodities desk you want $50 billion in physical bars. The desk goes quiet. Then a voice says, "That's roughly 15% of annual global gold production." You say proceed. The price moves 8% while your orders execute. Every person on Earth who already owned gold got slightly wealthier that afternoon. Because you decided to buy. You didn't intend to make anyone rich. You just moved the market by existing in it. Art. Private viewings, not auctions. 47 major works presented in a room with no logo on the door. You buy 26 of them, not because the others are inferior, because your advisor tells you these 26 have the fastest transfer times. You aren't collecting. You're clearing inventory. End of day 2. $120 billion spent. $880 billion remaining. The gap is not closing. Day 3. Someone on your team says the words out loud. You could end world hunger. You can't donate. But you can buy. So you do. The 4 companies that move roughly 90% of everything the world eats, wheat, corn, soy, You make cash offers for all four simultaneously: fertilizer producers, seed patent holders, the infrastructure that feeds billions. Within 48 hours, you are, on paper, the single largest landlord of the global food supply. Then you try to actually move the food, and that's when the first wall appears. You own the grain. You don't own the trucks, the roads, the ports. You try to route supply into regions with active food insecurity and hit a logistics ceiling that no amount of money can buy through in 7 days. The largest ports can't absorb the volume. Backlogs measured in months, not weeks. State-owned infrastructure goes under national security review the moment your name appears on a filing. You try to buy those too. Same answer, different country, different accent on the other end of the line. Here's what you discover on day 3. World hunger was never a shortage of food. It was never a shortage of money either. It is a shortage of functional roads, stable governments, supply chains not being actively disrupted by conflict, trust between parties who have been at war, bureaucracies that have decades of dysfunction baked into every layer. None of that has a price tag. None of it closes in 7 days. You didn't end hunger. You made grain more expensive for a week. The food is sitting in silos right now. The problem was never the food. End of day 3. $165 billion spent. $835 billion remaining. Day 4. You try to buy a country, not as a metaphor, as a transaction. Argentina is carrying roughly $400 billion in national debt, IMF obligations, restructured bonds renegotiated so many times the paperwork fills entire rooms. You put a cash offer on the table, full debt clearance, in exchange for special economic zone authority over a single port. The government signals it wants the deal. Of course it does. The IMF calls within 4 hours. The U.S. State Department calls within 6. Not to negotiate. To make clear this isn't happening, you try 3 smaller nations: Ecuador, Sri Lanka, a Pacific island state with debts it cannot service. The wall is the same each time, just different accents on the other end of the line. Here's what you learn on day 4. Money can buy a government's attention. It cannot buy sovereignty. Because sovereignty isn't something a single government controls alone. Other nations get a vote. International institutions get a vote. Decades of treaties get a vote. You are not being stopped by law. You are being stopped by something older and more durable than law. An agreement made long ago between every powerful actor on the planet that no single player gets to control the table. The interest kept running during those calls. Another $136 million, right on schedule, end of day 4. $200 billion spent, $800 billion remaining. Day 5. You try the stock market. Not one company, all of them. Your team begins executing block trades across the S&P 500. Start with the largest by market cap. Work down Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, every name in the index in order as fast as the system can process the orders. The first $50 billion moves cleanly. The market absorbs it the way a river absorbs a stone. A ripple, then nothing. Then the pattern becomes visible to the algorithms. Every major trading desk on Earth watches the same tape at the same moment. Someone is buying everything, not rotating, not hedging, not diversifying, buying, all of it, at any price. The S&P 500 rises 4% in 40 minutes, then 9%, then 14%. You are not buying stocks anymore. You are becoming the price. Every share you purchase costs more than the last because your own orders are the news the market is pricing in. You spend $100 billion and acquire less than you would have if you had spent $40 billion 1 hour earlier. The math is running in reverse. By mid-morning, the NYSE circuit breakers trip. Trading halts for 15 minutes. It resumes. You keep buying. It halts again. The SEC issues an emergency statement. Unusual coordinated acquisition activity across multiple sectors. They don't name you. They don't need to. The EU follows within 90 minutes. Euronext suspends trading across Paris, Amsterdam, Brussels, and Lisbon. Frankfurt goes next. Tokyo issues a precautionary pause citing anomalous cross-border capital flows. You have broken 4 stock exchanges before noon on day 5. They don't freeze your account. They freeze the markets. There is a legal difference and it matters. They cannot stop you from having money. They can only stop the places where money moves. Day 6. $680 billion now sits in equity positions across 340 companies. You own controlling stakes in 14 of the 30 largest corporations on Earth. On paper, you are worth more than when you started. The number is meaningless. You cannot sell without collapsing the price you created. The wealth exists on a screen. It cannot be converted back into the real world without destroying itself in the process. You sit in a conference room with no logo on the door. The table is one piece of wood. The deal being discussed is a private investment that won't appear on any public prospectus. The room exists because clients like you exist. But even this room has a ceiling. Private deals require counterparties willing to transact, and word has gotten around. Nobody wants to be on the other side of a trade with someone who broke 4 exchanges yesterday. The money is large enough now that it has become its own problem. Day 7. Markets are closed. Emergency sessions in 6 countries are rewriting trading rules in real time specifically because of what happened yesterday. The interest never stopped running. $720 million earned across the full 7 days, without effort, without intention, without anyone asking your permission. You have $80 billion left, and nowhere left to spend it. The world ran out of things it could sell you fast enough. Not because of greed, not because of conspiracy, not because anyone was trying to protect the system from you, but because the system was never designed to transfer at the speed that $1 trillion demands. Physical goods with immediate title transfer cap out somewhere around $100 to $110 billion. Everything above that either takes time you don't have, doesn't exist as private property, or moves in price so fast when you buy it that the purchase undercuts itself. Here's what you actually learned. You tried to buy food security. The problem was never the food. You tried to buy sovereignty. The problem was never the money. You tried to buy every market simultaneously. The market broke before the money ran out. At every single level, the same thing happened. Money got you to the door. But the door opened into a system that was never designed to be owned by a single person. Not because of a law written in a book somewhere, not because of morality, because of a structural truth so basic that most people never see it. Complex systems survive by distributing power. Every major system on Earth, the food system, the financial system, the political system, the legal system, is, at its core, a mechanism designed to prevent any single point of control from having the ability to collapse the whole thing. Not perfectly, not always. History is full of people who got further than they should have. But structurally, fundamentally, by design, the richest people alive don't spend their money. Not because they're generous, not because they're waiting for the right moment, because the supply of things money can actually buy runs out long before the money does, and the money that can't be spent earns while they sleep. The earning is always faster than the spending. That is the secret hidden inside the fantasy. Now here's the part that actually matters. You don't have $1 trillion. Neither does almost anyone. But the same system that stopped $1 trillion from buying sovereignty, ending hunger, owning every stock market, or purchasing a country, that same system shapes what your $1,000 can do, or your $10,000, or your first real investment. The world isn't designed to let one person own everything, but it is designed to reward the people who understand how it actually works, not the people who have the most, the people who understand where the real walls are, and more importantly, which ones aren't walls at all, just doors that nobody told you were open.